So Facebook ads is like the way it was back in 2010, thanks to ChatGPT. And more specifically, thanks to ChatGPT image generation. And it has to do with these two screenshots that I have over here, which I'll spend the rest of our time together unpacking. So, what do I mean? Well, let's talk about what the obvious thing right now is when it comes to ChatGPT and image generation, right? What's obvious? The obvious thing is that you can make ads much faster than you could before. But here's the thing. There is a bigger opportunity beyond just making more ads really fast. And the opportunity is related to what we're seeing over here in particular and how it combines with stuff that you see inside of your ad account. So to see opportunities in the present, I think it's useful to look at history so that we have the right perspectives to jump on opportunities. So let's talk about the past, which is why was Facebook ads so good in 2010, in particular with Shopify. So as a recap, let's talk about what the model has been in the last decade or so when it comes to e-commerce. So the formula is basically you have Facebook ads, you run traffic to a Shopify site or a WooCommerce site or some sort of e-commerce website. And then what happens from there? You make a whole bunch of sales. And the reason why this is viable and the reason why this has been a formula that has worked for a very long time is because of this over here with Facebook ads. Facebook ads has been really good at showing the right person, the right ad creative and offer at the right time. So that even if you aren't a great advertiser, even if you're not a masterful marketer, because it has so much data on consumers, you can get away with subpar ads, right? Like a flat lay of a t-shirt, and you can still make a bunch of money, right? Between 2010 and 2020, it was relatively easy compared to digging ditches. But as of late, right, what has happened? Because the advantages that we had in the past is starting to wither away. And we can explain that with a few things. Right? Rising ad costs. So we know this is real because right now, what are we seeing in 2024? So we saw an increase in advertising costs, right? Where Facebook's revenue went up. However, we saw a decrease in active user growth, right? So if Facebook is making more money, but there's not a growing amount of inventory to make that money with, how are they doing it, right? How are they making that happen? The answer is they're charging advertisers more. So what that means is the cost is passed off to us as advertisers, which means that for this formula over here to work and continue to work and stay minimalist where you are only running Facebook ads to a Shopify site and making money that way, then the lever that you have to pull is becoming a better advertiser and becoming better with your marketing, which similar to professional sports, it looks easy on the surface and it looks like everyone can do it, but it's all in the subtleties and becoming world-class at marketing to where you can fight the rising ad costs and the economics falling out of your favor is much harder, or rather much easier said than done. So then why is it that I'm saying that Facebook ads, let's go back up here, Facebook ads is like 2010, or rather behaving like it was in 2010, thanks to ChatGPT. And actually to correct myself, not so much behaving like 2010, but rather was the opportunity similar to 2010. So if this is a current model and the old model, The answer is because there's a new model for us to consider using, and a model that we've been testing for the last year. So if we were to bring this model over and just duplicate it with a little bit of edits, you'll see what I'm talking about. So right now we have Facebook ads, Shopify site, you make sales. If we add in one more layer to Facebook ads and we have Facebook organic or Instagram organic, this is where things get interesting. And this is actually where the opportunity lies for all of us when it comes to making Facebook ads perform the way they did in 2010. And it's sitting right in front of our noses. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we think about Facebook ads, right? If this is responsible for demand generation and demand capture of your specific product, then it has a lot more weight that it has to pull in order for it to generate sales for you. But imagine a world where Facebook ads has a team member to be working together with and supported by to handle some of this workload, in particular, the demand generation over here. And that's where this comes in, where this can lighten the load on just Facebook ads alone and supplement the activity of Facebook ads so that demand generation no longer only has to be a job of Facebook ads, but rather we can throw it mostly onto Facebook and IG organic. Because when you have organic content running, what happens? There's a really important thing that happens when you have organic content. And that important thing is you get custom audiences that you can use for retargeting and bringing further down the funnel to then make sales. And this happens even if you don't do tactical retargeting inside of your ad sets. Facebook, if you leave things broad and open, will still go after and serve impressions to people who are most likely to convert. So those who have been to your website before or engaged with your organic pages to come back and convert. So here's what I mean by that as an example. So this is one of the organic pages that we're running right now. And you can see how frequently we're posting, right? Sunday, March 30th, 3 p.m., 1 p.m., 11 a.m., 9 a.m. On the 29th, 7 p.m., 5 p.m., 3 p.m., 1 p.m. And look at the reach, which is also related to impressions that we are getting, right? 31K, 13.5K, 16K, 25K. And this is all with content that we are generating using AI and can now be augmented, or rather the process of how we generate this content can be augmented using ChatGPT, because in the past, our process looked like, let's generate the concepts and the copy and the text inside of ChatGPT or Claude or another tool, and then let's generate the images in another, and then let's smash them together with a designer. But now, thanks to ChatGPT, we can do this all in one place and speed up our workflow. And the beautiful thing here, right, is that all of these impressions, all of this reach, we don't really care about the fact that it's getting a lot of reach for the sake of the reach. We care about the fact that we're getting it to then support us in having more robust custom audiences for Facebook ads to do its work with. And, you know, the concern about AI created content not being high converting or not being engaging enough or people not liking it is just not true. It's just not true. Like, look at this. Look at all these shares that we're getting in a single day, right? Look at all these comments. Look at these likes, right? When AI content is created together with humans, it can be really good. And the value of getting all this extra reach that's done organically and all these extra impressions is that you can generate numbers similar to this. This is from an account that has been pretty well established over the last decade. And they have a very big following and a very big community that allows for the efficiency on the marketing to be so good because the cold traffic doesn't have to do all of the heavy lifting. The load of demand generation ends up getting spread across both the ads and the organic content. So let me show you an example of the type of content that you can create. It's not the only type of content you can create, but it's an example of what can be done and what can be effective as well, so that you can keep an eye out for examples that you personally want to model based on your skill set and also the niche that you're in. So this is the Tequila Times, right? They have 45K likes on Facebook, 150K followers, and look at this content. In their case, what they're running is recipes. And a lot of this stuff, thanks to ChatGPT, can be created using AI. So if you scroll down, right, look at this content. It's not super complicated, but it's stuff that people like and people engage with. And from the outside looking in, if you aren't a tequila enthusiast and tequila connoisseur and someone obsessed with tequila, you might be like, no way, this isn't good content. But I would reconsider that perspective because it really is in the eye of the beholder, right? Just like how some of us can't understand why people like country music, or can't understand why people like classical music, or can't understand why people like techno, right? If it's just not your taste, you're not going to see the value in it. But for the people who are in that world, it's great stuff. And so just to be elaborate on this example, the type of content that we've made in order to get this kind of reach and impressions is similar and in the same direction of what I just shared on the Tequila Times. It's simple stuff. It's stuff that can be driven by processes. And if a human is driving the process that AI is ultimately doing the heavy lifting on, it can be very effective with your audience. So let me give you another example over here. I have I Heart Dogs pulled up. This is our website. This is our Facebook page, 5 million likes and followers. You'll see how frequently they post on organic. Right? They do a mix of things. They do status posts. They do stories. They do videos. They do images. This is an example of a status post. And they post frequently, about 16 times a day or so. And how I know that is because I have a tracker with that data. So you can see here on the 10th of April, this 17 times throughout the day. On the 11th of April, we have 16 times. On the 9th of April, we have 18 times. And if you look at their top line numbers, the estimated numbers, it's about 22 million a year. And if we were to combine that with some analysis on the amount of traffic they're getting, right, 953, that seems pretty reasonable. So you can see there's something similar going on here too, right? Facebook ads are being run. I'll just walk you through some of these ads, right? You can take a glance at what they're running, all product-driven stuff. And then you combine that with strong organic activity and you have rocket fuel. And on top of this, what makes it even sweeter, so by posting more organic content, we aren't just able to fill up our custom audiences to then amplify and lighten the load on Facebook paid ads. What we're also able to do is make money from Facebook while doing it. So this is what we've been paid in a single month, where we're creating content on a regular basis and we get paid through the Facebook bonus program, where you get paid to post content that gets a fair amount of reach and they pay you for it. So it becomes this beautiful cycle where you make organic content, you build up your custom audiences, plus get paid by Facebook to do it. And then on top of that, your ads perform better. And then you keep making more organic content. It's a nice little cycle that feeds on itself and goes beyond just the obvious opportunity. And it's a great opportunity too, right? We still want to make better ads. We still want to make faster ads with ChatGPT image generation and, of course, other image generation tools too. But beyond that, there's this extra layer of what will allow us to get even more meaningful output that has the potential to slash marketing as a percentage of your revenue by a meaningful amount. An example of what I mean by that is this brand over here, Heart and Soil. So Paul Saladino is one of the guys who operates it, and they're doing somewhere between 50 and 60 million a year, maybe more by now. And to my knowledge, I think their CEO or one of their executives, because Brian, I think he had mentioned that their marketing efficiency, so the amount that they're spending on marketing as a percentage of their revenue, is something like sub 15%. And so in the past, right, in order to have that level of efficiency, for most people at least, you would have to build a following like Paul Saladino that drives a large amount of organic traffic. All right, let's just do a quick check. 905 on YouTube and 2.7 on Instagram. And if you weren't the type of person to be able to jump on camera and make content at the velocity and the intensity and the frequency at which he's able to do it, the model and the game is just not an option for you. But because of the ability to create content like this and get a similar effect by way of using ChatGPT image generation, the opportunity opens up to get the efficiency that Heart and Soil is getting, which in the past, in 2010 on Facebook, might have been something that you could do with just cold ads alone. But in 2025, it's a little bit more challenging to do that. So Facebook ads is kind of like it was in 2010 if we play our cards right and we consider a model beyond the decade-old model of Facebook ads to Shopify to making money, and we consider amplifying or adding another layer to this model using ChatGPT.